The preseason is over, and it's time for the regular season, cut down day, and everything in between. We do it all next, right here on Boy Green Daily. Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rogers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
All right, everybody, welcome to Boy Green Daily, and I am Boy Green, and here we are. It's time to get back to it every Monday, and we'll do this, obviously, continuing throughout the entire season. Matt gosh darn O'Leary. We missed him last week because I was in Bermuda on a cruise, but now he's back, and I was missing him. On Monday, I did like my own Boy Green Daily. No one asked for it on the cruise ship, but I'm just like, hey, everybody, Boy Green Daily. I was giving them Jets news from the cruise ship that, again, no one asked for whatsoever, but we provide. Matt, welcome back to the show, man.
Excited to be back. Missed you last week. And yeah, I'm sure that went over very well on the cruise. I'm sure everybody loved that.
You know, it's funny. I don't know how it is for you, Matt, but for me, as a Jets guy, I wear Jet stuff every day of my life. I don't know how many things I have in my wardrobe that is not Jets related. So whether they were winning or losing, every day I'm like, I'm back in my Jet stuff. So on this cruise ship, it was a little different. People stopped over. People from other teams. I was in a buffet line. A guy was making my eggs. I'm like, oh, thanks, man. And then someone goes, hey, Jets this year, huh? I'm like, well, what kind of fan are you? He's like, Giants. I'm like, gross, but okay, let's go. Or Jet fans coming over and saying, hey, man, this is it. This is the year. And I'm like, you're damn right it is. So there was a lot of buzz. There was a lot of palpable energy, which was really nice. And let me ask you, Matt, because the next time, well, not the next time we chat, but, now that the preseason is over, the next Jet football game is going to count. It's going to be a Monday Night Football match. So now we have no more pretend football, no more preseason football. It's all real deal moving forward here.
Yeah, things you just absolutely love to see. It felt like it was the longest off season into then training camp and preseason of our lives here. And I think a big part of it is because of the high anticipation for this season. Jet fans are rightfully excited. You mentioned it on the cruise. I'll be walking down the street or, in a store somewhere in a Jet shirt, and I'll get a little point or a head nod and an acknowledgement of like, okay, like this, it's happening, folks. Like we're going to get ready and do the dang thing this year. I'm excited. I'm ready to go. And preseason and training camp, loved covering it. It's always a blast, as always, doing that. But I need some real Jets football in my life, and I need it now.
Yeah, we are going to get it sooner rather than later. Again, it's next week is where the NFL season starts. It'll be Thursday Night Football, Detroit Lions, Kansas City Chiefs. Very much looking forward to that. We'll have to wait, which is almost cruel in some sense because the Jets have played on Monday Night Football to open a season before. I remember Jets-Lions, the Sam Darnold debut, and you get to – it's a weird feeling on that Sunday. It's game day. It's like the first true Sunday football for anyone, and then we're sitting there like, all right, let's just enjoy the games. It's weird not having any skin in the game. Then all of a sudden Monday, but that's going to make that Monday so much crazier. All day, one game, final game of the first week of the season, and just building up. Oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to handle my life. That's it. Now we just have these two painful, relatively speaking, weeks to figure all this out. So that is beautiful. By the way, I see this super chat in here, which by the way are always welcome. Lee Van. We're Green, glad you made it back from the Bermuda Triangle. So I'm going to be honest. This is my second trip to Bermuda. I have never, obviously the Bermuda Triangle thing where, people go in the triangle and get lost and never come back out. I didn't remember that the first time. And then it was Lee or someone else said it as I was going to this second trip to Bermuda. I'm like, oh, my God. And I think it was Ty Butler who said, man, how cruel would that be, Paul, if you die on this cruise ship? right before Aaron Rodgers gets to play Jets football. Like, that would suck. So the whole time I'm thinking about the beginning of the Bermuda cruise. There were rocky waters, the boats rocking all over the place. I'm like, Jesus, this is how I'm going to go. This is unbelievable. But for those who don't know, from the map that I looked at, Bermuda and where our trip was from Boston, we only hit the point, the tip of the Bermuda Triangle. But yes, I made it in and out. Okay, I will no longer tempt fate. But thank you for asking about that. I truly appreciate that. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Anytime you could have a little extra anxiety added to a trip, you just got to do it, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So we're going to get more into it tomorrow. Tomorrow, of course, is the roster cutdown day. And I'll mention this stat tomorrow. But I think it's, almost like, I don't know, tip of the cap. I'm not sure what the right word is. But, folks, for those who don't know, there are 2,880 players in the NFL when they have 90-man rosters on each of the 32 NFL franchises. Okay? To get to the 53 number for all of those teams, that number is 1,696, which means the math beat who bop on the calculator, Matt O'Leary. 1,184 players are going to see their dreams end tomorrow. And obviously over days, the Jets cut Nick Vigil last night, veteran linebacker. So that's the start of what is going to continue to be the cuts. But I just wanted to take a moment because, again, it'll be more impactful on tomorrow's show. But just kind of a tip that, some of these guys are never going to play football ever again. Salah kind of mentioned that before. Some of these guys obviously will get opportunities, the 16-man practice squad, so they'll be able to swing back on a lot of these. But the true dream of getting the call and then you're getting dumped, Sal called it the crappiest day of the year, and all these other things are crappiest part of the job. I just wanted to give a shout out to all those guys that are going to lose their jobs. It's a tough part of the business, but obviously something we have to discuss and predict, and 53-man roster projections and things of that nature. But shout out to all those guys.
Yeah, it's not easy. And that's a good point to bring that up because, everyone looks at this as, oh my God, there's 90 guys on this team right now, and we got to get this thing down to 53. And it's fun to go through and do those predictions and stuff. And I'm sure we'll do that. And, there's a human element to this that I think gets looked over far too often. These guys, it is a business, but they're people in this business, and it stinks, and you got to feel for those guys.
Let me bring this up, Matt, because I'm going to be honest. So I go on this Bermuda cruise ship. I keep bringing this up a lot, but I go on this trip to Bermuda. Before I leave, the offensive line is a mess. There are guys injured. There's, Mekhi Becton isn't even in the running to start in the competition. Like he's not even in the conversation. Dwayne Brown, he'll show up at some point. Well, that's freaking encouraging. And then I get back, and the entire offensive line has seemingly figured it out. And then people joke with me saying I should go on vacations more often, apparently. So we'll start with the offensive line thing. Then we'll get to the headline of this show about Corey Davis and that situation. But, Matt, it seems like the biggest concern for the Jets, and it's been the theme storyline the entire offseason leading in, is can the Jets protect Aaron Rodgers? I don't know about you, but I love this five. I love the starting five of this unit, which in theory is Dwayne Brown, Laken Tomlinson, Connor McGovern, Elijah Tucker, and Mekhi Becton out of nowhere. Again, pre-cruise trip, what's going to happen with Mekhi? All of a sudden, booyah, starter at right tackle, seemingly out of nowhere. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it all kind of came together overnight. It felt like we, for 2 weeks in practice leading up to the game against the Panthers and then the Bucs, it was, oh my God, this offensive line's in shambles. But then overnight, hey, Mekhi Becton, he switches sides. He goes from the left to the right side and then ends up, getting reps with the ones and earns that job, deservedly so. Dwayne Brown finally shows. AVT and Laken Tomlinson get healthy. And it's like, okay, you kind of got something here. And, I think if all those five are healthy and good to go, I think it could be a solid offensive line. I don't know if it'll ever be a top elite unit. I think they still need a little bit more work there, but I think if everything goes well, it could be a average to slightly above average line which I think is more than enough. The thing always for this line with me was just the amount of variance that it could have. It could be a solid line, but it could also look pretty terrible as we saw early on if there's a couple injuries. I mean, you lose your two starting guards in Tomlinson and AVT. Dwayne Brown's recovering from his injury. Mekhi Becton not ramped up enough yet to run with the ones, and it was looking pretty ugly there for a while. And just hopefully it doesn't get to that point, because we saw that last year where there was a ton of injuries. And that was the biggest thing that derailed the season, in my opinion, last year.
So, Matt, you're not drinking the Kool-Aid. You didn't hear Laken Tomlinson after the Giants game. Ethan Greenberg says, how good can this unit be? And he laughs for a while and kind of dances around. And he says, all right, I'll say it. F it. We all do that eventually. We could be the best offensive line in football. So you're not drinking that Kool-Aid.
No, I'm not. Respectfully, all due respect to him, I understand they have to have that mindset. I want my players to have that mindset, but I am not quite there. I think it could be, as I said, average, a little above average, or pretty good offensive line. I just don't want to see a bottom 5. Like, that's really a bottom 5 to 10 offensive line. If they are an average unit with a great quarterback in Aaron Rodgers and a ton of weapons on the offensive side of the ball, that is more than enough for me.
You're just kind of spiel there on your desires for the offensive line reminds me from Vince Vaughn from the movie Dodgeball, saying, if I have no expectations, it's impossible to disappoint myself. So again, to not be bottom 5. I mean, in all honesty, though, because Aaron Rodgers, we saw it prevalent in the Giants game where Wink is throwing the kitchen sink every play, which some Jet fans are like, Wink, what the hell? But I think the Jets really appreciated it because it forced them to call some audibles and some protects and doing some things of that nature to put themselves in a better position. With how quickly Aaron Rodgers gets rid of the ball, regardless of the Jets' offensive line, they're going to be better just by nature of him being in there. So that's going to be a help. And then to your point, if they're just not bottom 5, you combine the Aaron Rodgers effect and the not bottom 5, that's probably good enough to make all kinds of damage in the NFL this season.
No, exactly. Yeah, last year you had Zach Wilson, who held onto the ball forever, which is, not ideal, and then a bad offensive line on top of that, and that's how you end up with one of the worst offenses in football. But Rodgers gets rid of it insanely quick, and I love that we saw that in the Giants game when he came in. It was kind of just take what the defense gives you, quick reads, quick throws, and it doesn't really matter at that point. And I don't think the offensive line is going to be bad. I think it's going to be fine, to maybe even a slightly above average unit. But I think that's really all you need with just how this Jets offense is going to operate.
I think I've teased it for long enough. Again, Matt O'Leary joins us every Monday, Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show live every day at 7:30. Make sure you support Matt as his Jets content creation. It's his full-time gig, for Pete's sake. So if you don't support him, then him and his, a beautiful girlfriend will be, begging for change on the street. So help a brother out, for Pete's sake, so they can eat tonight. Matt Goshdarn O'Leary here on the program. And the other thing I missed randomly, and I got to tell you, we pulled into Maine. So here's how the Bermuda trip went. We hop in Boston. We go to Bermuda. We chill in Bermuda for a few days. We drive back. We ship back, swim back. What's a proper term for cruising back?
I like.
Yeah, cruising. Okay. So we cruised back and we hit up a port in Maine before we go back to Boston. So I had Wi-Fi when we're back in the God blessed America. I'm like, let me check what could possibly have transpired with Jet news. I'm like, Corey Davis retired. What the hell? My brain I'm like, retired. How the hell did that happen? So again, I don't want to beat a dead horse and old news for all you people. But the pressing question that I want to get back to now as we're heading into final roster cuts, so waiver wire trades and things of that nature, Corey Davis, regardless of what you think, was 2 or 3 in the rotation. I saw him as 3 in the wide receiver room behind Lazard and Garrett Wilson. But even if you thought he was 2, that's significant target share that all of a sudden becomes available. My question to you, and it's the poll of the day, so let's slap that up on the big screen. By the way, that's linked everywhere you guys are watching right now. So if you're watching on our Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, you guys can make sure you check it out and vote in our poll today and check out our daily itinerary here. So here's the poll today. We sent it out last night. I love all the reactions. So we have over 1,000 votes. Really appreciate that. Here is the poll of the day. Should the Jets replace Corey Davis with a big-time wide receiver addition, or should they stand pat with what they have? Make a move, Joe Douglas, or nah, we good? 80% of the fans saying make a move, Joe gosh darn Douglas. And I flipped that over to you, Matt O'Leary. I don't know if you voted in this poll, but I ask you, should it be a big move? Should it be something somewhat inconsequential? Should they just stand pat? What say you?
I was a part of the 80.4%. Immediately when I was tagged in that poll, I cast my vote. I very well could have been vote number 1 in this poll. I immediately hit the button. I was ready to go, and that was kind of my reaction after this. After the news, the initial shock came in, and obviously wishing Corey Davis, well in his post-playing career, and then after a little bit of time passed, I thought, what you mentioned, Corey Davis is going to be the at worst number 3 receiver, could be even the number 2 receiver on this team. Like, that's a pretty significant loss. And I'm not even necessarily saying that they have to trade for Devontae Adams or Mike Evans or someone of that caliber. I just think they need to get another professional NFL receiver in here. We could talk about other guys that they have now fighting for the rosters, Xavier Gibson, Jason Brownlee, Malik Taylor, all nice and intriguing. But when you're in a position for when you're going for it, like the New York Jets are, I want to make sure that you have as close to a complete roster as humanly possible. And I think it'd be wise of the Jets to try to add, and I don't know if it's going to happen now, right before the season, but even at the deadline, there was a time in the NFL where the trade deadline wasn't really that active, but that's changed over the last few years. Teams are getting much more active with in-season trades, and who knows? If a team starts, if the Bucs start 0-5, would they be willing to flip a Godwin or an Evans or someone like that? I think that's absolutely on the table, and you kind of just gotta keep your eyes and ears open for these teams who come out and start slow, and maybe you can pry a wide receiver away from them.
All right, let's do a quick follow-up. Let's say they don't get some big name immediately anyway. We were talking about which of the UDFA could make it because, again, there's no guarantee they would even keep 6. Xavier Gibson, who had the breakout game against the Giants, shout out to him, very nice. Led the team in receiving yards against the Giants in the preseason finale, very nice. Jason Brownlee early, obviously. Malik Taylor is a system guy. Do they keep one of those guys, 2 of those guys? What's kind of the construct? Because there's 4 locks as we see it. Would have been 5, obviously, with Davis. In no particular order, Garrett Wilson, Mecole Hardman, Alan Lazard, and Randall Cobb. What do they do now, do you believe?
I think they do keep 6. I think Gibson absolutely earned himself a spot with his play in the Giants game, and also just his returnability that he showed off in the preseason. I think they like that and want to keep him for his special teams value. And then I think it comes down to Malik Taylor or Jason Brownlee for that last spot. I still lean Jason Brownlee, even though he's had a relatively quiet preseason. Malik Taylor, wouldn't shock me if he got that job. Just because of the connection that he already has with Aaron Rodgers, but he's a little bit older. I feel like you kind of know what he is at this level, where Brownlee, I think, has more upside, and I'd be willing to take the chance on the guy with more upside as my 6th receiver than someone who's a little bit older and you kind of already know what he is.
All right, let's answer a couple of questions before we get out of here. Snowball, which linebackers do we keep? The Rid Cimini and Zach Rosenblatt 53-man roster projection had them keeping 4. It was the 3 locks in my mind, which is C.J. Mosley, Quincy Williams, and Jamian Sherwood, with the 4th being in both of their projections, Zaire Barnes. So do they keep 4? Do they keep 5? We all saw the Hard Knocks episode. I freaking love that guy. I freaking love that guy. Solid cheese and over gosh darn freaking Chaz Surratt, which I was like, whoa, another surprise potentially this offseason. So does he slip in there? What do you see at linebacker?
Yeah, I think they do keep 4, and I have Zaire Barnes as my 4. I think it's close.
Okay.
I think they're going to try to get Surratt on the practice squad, but he missed some time due to an injury in camp in the preseason. So I think that kind of knocked him down a little bit in the pecking order, and they spent, a draft pick recently on Barnes, and like that stuff matters to an organization and a GM. And I really liked what we saw from Zaire Barnes at times in the preseason. I get it, they're going up against 13 guys, but he showed some speed getting down to line of scrimmage, making plays, and coming up with a bunch of tackles. I think it's him who gets the 4th spot.
Yeah, I know you're right on that, where you said the draft pick can matter. Yeah, ask Braden Mann, who friggin' lasted 1,000 years here because of his draft pick status. That's for sure. Let's show this one in here because I don't think I've gotten a place to write about this yet, but Zonovan Bam Knight, is he a Dolphin or a Patriot after tomorrow? And I will say this. I think people have forgotten. Zonovan Knight last year made the initial 53. And why we say initial 53 is because of waiver wire claims and things of that nature can drastically change the image. And then he got cut, and he was on the practice squad for like the entire season before he had that upstart. I think it was like the Bears game, which where he came back up. There were no last year and still no moving forward practice squad protections where you could protect a player. Any NFL team at any time last year could have scooped him up, and they didn't. So I'm going to be honest, despite the buzz in camp, I think Bam is going to get dumped, and he's going to go right to the practice squad unless he doesn't want to and doesn't see a viable path on the Jets and wants to go somewhere else on their practice squad. I don't think anyone's going to claim him. I think sometimes us Jet fans get wild for guys and say, ooh, oh, we can't, we'll lose that guy. And then we're like, oh, just kidding. No one claimed him. I don't think anyone claims Bam. What do you say, Matt?
I hope that's the case. I hope he ends up on the practice squad because I do like Bam for depth on this team. But can I throw another name in the mix as a potential
Please do.
The Colts, if they move on from Jonathan
Taylor. Oh,
Taylor,
yes, obviously.
A little bit of a hole there at running back. So maybe they take a flyer on a guy like Bam Knight.
Could make sense. All right, let's end with this, Matt. And I'm so happy to announce, guys, we've been talking about it every day. We'll continue to talk about it because obviously time is running out. We have a week and a half. We have now cracked the 100 mark. We have over 100 New York Jet fans that have entered our free Jets jersey giveaway contest. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And there's still time for you if you haven't already. Again, this is just science, okay? You can't argue with this, okay? If you enter our contest, you have a chance to win. If you don't enter a contest, you have zero chance to win. That is what our lawyers behind the scenes have told us. So that's what they say, and we must agree. That is just facts. So with that being said, we have over 100 Jet fans. Everywhere you're watching, I've said this before, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and I'll try to make sure I put it as a pinned YouTube comment as well if you guys would like to see it easier. Join our contest, predict the Jets season, how it's going to happen, who they beat, who they lose to, and what's their final regular season record. You will see all the other Jet fans, again, all the details in our article link down below. You'll know you're in the right place when you see, again, 100 Jet fans that have also predicted the same exact thing. So, guys, if you want a chance to win a free Jets jersey, make sure you do so. Again, over 100 Jet fans, including Matt O'Leary, who has also entered this contest. So, guys, make sure you pop in and jump in on that. That would be wonderful. Matt, the next time we talk, which will be next week, it will be the start, quote unquote, of NFL Week 1. And the following week, we'll be doing a game day preview of New York Jets, Buffalo Bills. Oh, my. I'm so ready. And, Matt, it's going to be a lot of fun, man.
I can't wait to continue to do this throughout the season. It's going to be a ton of fun. And yeah, like Paul said, get those predictions in. If it's free, it's for me. That's what I've always said. That's the motto I live by. And I want in on that jersey just as bad as you guys do. So make sure to sign up in the comments.
Oh, there you are. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll be back tomorrow morning with another special guest right here on Boy Green Daily, live every morning at 7:30. Take care, everybody.